when countries lose faith in their own economic numbers, or other countries, countries B, C, and D lose faith in country A's numbers. We have seen this movie before. We've seen it in Greece. We have seen it in, we've seen it in a bunch of countries. Let's see, we've seen it in Greece. We have seen it in Argentina, and we've seen it in China. In each one of these cases, the official books were cooked, and the result was that the rest of the world just said, "Okay, screw that. We're not going to, engage your currency the way that we used to." I mean, in China, the local authorities were faking numbers, and so we had to turn to alternative measures to try to figure out what's going on with their economy. In Argentina, for the decade of the 20s to the 2000s to the 2010s, the government illegally understated inflation figures to the point that nobody believed in the Argentinian currency, and it ultimately collapsed. When Louise and I were there, we were there during the week of the elections when Milei was elected. What was that, a year and a half ago, November? We were in Santiago in Argentina, and interviewing people, and it was a fascinating time. I mean, we were there the day of the election, in fact, and the day after, and the day before. And every day we were staying in a hotel, we had to go eat, and every day the prices changed. Like all the menus, the menus didn't have prices on them. They would write them in with grease pencils, and they had whiteboards and things with the prices, because literally every day the prices were going up because inflation was happening on a daily rate, which is, of course, why they elected Milei, who presented himself as an economist who could put things back together. And instead, what's he doing? He's arresting protesters and dissenters. And now you've got Trump firing the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the rest of the world is not going to take this well. This is, her name is Erica McEntarfer. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it for sure. But she was confirmed by the Senate as the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And she's a professional statistician. She's got no politics of note. Nobody's ever accused her of being political. She was certified by the Senate with only 8 dissenting votes. Over 80 people voted for her in the Senate. Over 90 people voted for her in the Senate. So this is, in my opinion, not just a small, Donald Trump is losing it, or he's becoming an autocrat, or he thinks he's king, or, kill the messenger. It's not just that kind of story. This is a story that could lead to other countries, particularly this emerging bloc of China, Russia, Iran, possibly some of the Middle Eastern countries, deciding, and some of the South American and Central American countries, and frankly, now that they're in China's orbit rather than ours because of the destruction of USAID, many of the African countries just saying, screw it, we're no longer going to use the dollar. We're going to adopt the Chinese yuan, or we're going to adopt the euro, or we're going to adopt a brand new currency that we're going to make out of a collection, out of a basket of currencies, essentially creating a euro kind of thing. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, what we see is a radical international geopolitical / economic realignment. And if the world moves away from using the dollar as its reserve currency, the principal stabilizer of the dollar is going to vanish. And suddenly we're going to be like England was in the 1940s and 50s. When the pound ceased to become, kind of the world's basic currency, or one of them, and England ceased to be the financial center of the world, and will just become another country. And then we're going to have to deal with some of our own problems internally in ways that are going to be very expensive and very uncomfortable. I mean, basically the rest of the world, by using the dollar as a reserve currency, the rest of the world is subsidizing our lifestyle. And, you know, history shows that doesn't go on forever. I mean, that was the, I need not get back into, you know, when the French currency collapsed and when the lingua franca became, you know, all these other things. We've seen all these changes, these international changes. And I think that Trump is accelerating the process. The question in my mind continues to be, and I haven't gotten a decent answer to this, is Trump trying to destroy America? Is he trying to destroy? He's obviously trying to destroy us economically. He has already gone a long way toward destroying us socially, turning Americans against each other, destroying our Constitution, ripping it apart, ignoring it. You know, 1/3 of the court orders that have been issued to stop Trump from doing things, he's simply ignored. I mean, are we at or near the point where all this kind of thing, where all of these assaults on our Constitution, on our way of life, on you know who we are and what we're all about, that all of these things just destroy us? Basically, that America ceases to be America. And we start to become something that is more like Russia or Hungary, where we've got a strongman dictator running the country. I mean, it's clearly what Donald Trump wants. He loves these people. He's constantly holding them up as role models. He's constantly talking about Vladimir Putin as if he was a former wife or a long lost lover that he still feels great affection for. It's just. And there was this story over the weekend. It was a minor sensation on Twitter for a while and moved into a few other venues. I saw it on Blue Sky, alleging that Dmitry Medvedev, who is the number 2 guy in more or less in Russia, he's the guy that when Putin was term limited after his second term, he ran for president, became the president with Putin as his number 2 so that Putin could continue to run the country, which is, by the way, the strategy that Donald Trump has been talking about doing, of having J.D. Vance run for president with Trump as vice president, or Trump even just as an outside advisor, but Trump will continue to run the country, which is exactly what Putin did. But anyhow, Medvedev, over the weekend, it was alleged that he said Donald Trump had better be careful. This was after Trump said he was going to send 2 nuclear submarines off the coast of Russia, which he's reiterated now. Medvedev was said to have said, well, Donald Trump needs to be careful because if he thinks that Mossad is the only foreign intelligence service that has videotape of his indiscretions, he's wrong. In other words, we've got the Epstein tapes also, or we've got the equivalent of the Epstein tapes. And does that account for why Donald Trump does whatever Bibi Netanyahu tells him to do and does whatever Vladimir Putin tells him to do? That he's being blackmailed with tapes of him with teenage girls? I don't know, but it makes a certain amount of sense. Meanwhile, the Attorney General of Florida, James Othmeyer, is cracking down on people who attend drag shows. Honest to God. I mean, this is, like I said, Donald Trump is trying to turn Americans against each other. You've got to have somebody to hate. If you're a Republican, there's got to be somebody you hate. And if it's not black people, or brown people, it's got to be queer people or women. I mean, that's basically the spectrum, or liberals. And Florida man and Attorney General James Othmeyer has now, there's this bar in Florida, in Vero Beach. It's called the Kilted Mermaid, like Scottish kilts. It's a gay-friendly bar, and they host drag shows. And some of them are all ages welcome, and some of them are adult-themed. And they had advertised an everybody welcome drag show, and this provoked the Attorney General, who's apparently quite homophobic, based on this, and Jennifer Pippin, the county's chair of Moms for Liberty, to freak out. And he's now demanding that they turn over the list of people who attended the drag show. So, I thought my right of free speech included the right of free association. In fact, the right of free association is also written into the First Amendment, although it's specific to protests. But, I think the right of free association is more generally widely acknowledged, both at state and federal law, everywhere. So now if we go to a drag show, the Attorney General for Florida wants to know our names. What's it going to do with that? This is not right.